The afternoon light poured through the thin curtains like a soft river of gold, illuminating dust particles that drifted slowly in the still air, as if time itself was hesitant to move forward. In that quiet house where laughter had long forgotten to echo, a single heartbeat was learning how to live again. It began as an ordinary day, a television humming in the background, a cup of tea cooling untouched on the table, and a man who had convinced himself that his life was meant to be only about responsibilities, not feelings. But then, in one unexpected moment, a gentle touch changed everything. A hand brushed against his, and the world he had built around silence trembled. The loneliness he had locked away burst open, and his heart, tired, wounded, and afraid, suddenly remembered how to beat differently, as if it had just awakened from a long sleep. If you believe in kindness, healing, and second chances, then take a moment right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel, Stories of Kindness. Your support helps these heart-touching stories reach more people who might need them. Clears throat. Arav had never planned to become a single father so early in life. He had imagined a future filled with shared breakfasts, family trips, and someone to lean on during storms. Instead, fate turned sharply one bright day, leaving him standing alone with a 4-year-old girl, Meher, whose eyes reflected both innocence and unanswered questions. His wife's sudden passing left not just an empty space on the bed, but an emptiness in every corner of the house, in every routine, in every silent evening, when the world outside glowed with sunsets and his home dimmed with grief. He stopped listening to music because every melody carried memories. He avoided photographs because they held the warmth he could no longer touch. And he filled his days with work and parenting just to avoid thinking. Clear's throat. Mornings began early with Meher's school uniform, braided hair, and a smile he forced onto his face so hers could remain real. He walked her to school beneath a bright sun that felt indifferent to his pain. The neighborhood was alive with daytime sounds, vendors calling, children laughing, bikes passing. But Arav felt separated from it, as though he were living behind an invisible wall. He carried guilt as heavy as a mountain, constantly wondering if he could have done anything differently, if he could have saved the life that slipped away from him. Nights were harder, but even daytime held its ghosts. Every room shimmered with what once had been. It was around this time that his new neighbor moved in, Anaya. She carried with her a calm presence, like shade beneath a summer tree. She had her own quietness, but it was different from Arav's. Hers felt like rest, while his felt like exhaustion. She would greet him with a soft nod in the daytime corridors of the apartment building, sometimes offering a small smile when Meher waved at her with that fearless friendliness only children possess. At first, Arav kept his distance, convinced that connection only led to loss. Yet, life has its own ways of weaving people together without asking for permission. One afternoon, the sun stood high and bright. The sky washed clear as if the world had been freshly painted. May was at school and the house felt particularly silent. The television played just for the sake of background noise, colors flashing across the screen with no one really watching. Anya had stopped by to return a bowl he had lent her, and somehow, without plan or ceremony, they ended up sitting on the sofa, sharing the same quiet room. It was daytime, yet it felt intimate in a simple human way. Not romantic at first, just two souls resting near each other. The TV program was irrelevant. It merely gave them something neutral to stare at. Instead of directly facing the vulnerable emotions beneath the surface, Arav's mind drifted as he sat there. He thought of responsibilities, unpaid bills, upcoming parent-teacher meetings, and the weight of every decision he had to make alone. He wondered if Meher would ever remember her mother's voice, or if one day he would become a story she would struggle to recall in full detail. His chest had begun to feel tight with unspoken grief when it happened. Anaya shifted slightly, and her fingers brushed his hand. It wasn't deliberate, not dramatic, just a simple human touch. Yet for a man who had forgotten tenderness, it was like lightning through water. His heartbeat stumbled, then raced as though it had heard a distant call and was trying to answer it. That touch was warm and grounding. For the first time in years, his body didn't feel made of stone. Memories rose, not to torment him, but to remind him that he was still alive. He felt an overwhelming urge to pull away out of fear, yet some deeper part of him wanted to stay right there in that quiet contact. He did not say anything aloud. There was no dialogue, no dramatic declaration, only the powerful realization that his loneliness was not invincible. He realized that though pain had carved scars into him, his heart had not forgotten how to respond to kindness. The daytime light flooded the room as if approving this fragile moment. In the days that followed, the world didn't magically transform, but something subtle shifted inside Arv. He noticed colors again, the green of leaves quivering in the afternoon breeze, the bright uniforms of children returning from school, even the gentle laughter of Meher when she tried to chase butterflies on the balcony. Anaya became a frequent presence, not imposed but naturally welcomed, helping Meher with crafts, sharing recipes, or simply sitting in comfortable silence. Arav still struggled. Grief is not a switch you turn off. It is a slow tide that recedes and returns. There were mornings when he woke with heavy eyes and afternoons when he questioned whether happiness was a betrayal of the past. Yet he also saw how May's laughter grew, more constant, how the home felt less hollow with another soul occasionally beneath its roof. He discovered that strength did not mean refusing to feel. It meant daring to feel again despite the risk. He began to forgive himself for not being perfect. He realized that being a single father was not about replacing what was lost, but about building what remained. He learned how to make simple lunches, braid hair faster, and read bedtime stories with emotion instead of mechanical duty. He learned that healing often comes in the ordinary light of day, not always through grand gestures, but through shared cups of tea, shared afternoons, shared presence. But fear lingered like a quiet shadow behind him. He wondered if he deserved another chance at companionship. He worried about how the world would judge him or how his own heart might break again. In those moments of doubt, he would catch Meher watching him with trusting eyes. And he understood that the greatest lesson he could give her was not how to avoid pain, but how to rise from it. Life, he realized, is not measured by how perfectly it unfolds, but by how courageously one continues after it falls apart. One evening, while the sun was still up, spreading warm amber across the sky, he found himself sitting again beside Anaya, the TV humming like before. This time, the silence between them was not heavy. It was full. His heart no longer panicked beneath her touch. It steadied as though it had found a rhythm it had been looking for. He felt gratitude instead of fear. He understood that he did not have to rush toward anything, nor run away from it. The day outside glowed, the world continued, and inside that small living room, a man who had once stopped believing in new beginnings quietly opened the door to one. Their connection was not defined by loud promises, nor grand confessions. It was defined by small acts, help with groceries, concern when Mihar had a mild fever, warm meals shared when he was too tired to cook. Arav saw that compassion can be a bridge between broken worlds. He stopped trying to erase the past and instead began weaving it gently with the present, allowing both love and memory to coexist. As time passed, he noticed that Meher had started humming again while drawing sun-filled pictures. She began coloring, people holding hands beneath daytime skies, and even though she never said much about it, Arav knew children often speak with colors instead of words. Looking at her drawings, he realized that healing had reached his daughter, too, quietly, just as it had touched him. If this story has touched your heart even a little, if you felt the weight, the healing or the silent courage in it, then please like the video, share it with someone who might need hope today and subscribe to Stories of Kindness so more people can feel seen. Through these emotional journeys, your engagement truly supports the creation of such heartfelt stories. Before the end, here is a special request. Write in the comments what part of this story stayed with you the most and why. Because your words might become someone else's strength. And so under the gentle brightness of another ordinary day, Arav understood that life does not end with loss. It bends, reshapes, and slowly learns how to glow again. His heart, once numb and silent, now beat with a quieter, deeper courage. He was still a single father, still imperfect, still human, but no longer alone inside his own walls. The touch that had startled him that afternoon didn't just change his heartbeat. It changed his direction. It reminded him that daytime can carry miracles, too. That even after long shadows, there is light waiting patiently. He looked at Mehar's smile at the calm presence beside him, and breathed in the warm air of a world that had once terrified him. In that breath, lived acceptance, gratitude, and the simple powerful truth that second chances often arrive not with thunder, but with a gentle hand resting against yours.